Welcome, everyone, to another podcast. Today we have my wonderful co host, Amy Sawyer, all the way from Norway.
Hi.
And today's guest is Mira Ormala. And
Hello.
hello, with a voice that soars effortlessly between classical crossover and musical theater, Mira Ormala has mesmerized audiences worldwide. A soprano of exceptional range and artistry, I like that. She has graced legendary stages from the West End to international concert halls, bringing iconic roles to life with stunning depth and emotion. Whether performing alongside Sir John Elton John at the Royal Albert Hall or captivating audiences in Andrew Lloyd Webber's Love Never Dies, Mira's talent continues to leave an indelible mark on the world of music and theater. Her passion for storytelling through song is evident in her acclaimed debut album Dreaming, where classical, folk, and film music meld into a breathtaking experience. A true force in the world of performance, Mira Ormala is an artist whose voice transcends boundaries, enchanting all who have the privilege of listening. Welcome to the show, Mira. Pleased to meet
Thank you
you.
so much, Chris, for that lovely introduction. Thank you.
Welcome. Nice to see you. And Amy, thank you for being here once again as my co-host.
You're welcome.
Now, the main thing about the introduction is that you actually performed with Sir Elton John.
Yes, that was quite early on, just when I'm originally from Finland. And that was early on when I had moved to the UK to study at the Royal Academy of Music. And I remember the opportunity came up, and I came from Helsinki, which is obviously the capital of Finland, but still not as big a pond and not as big a deal as London. So it was quite the experience to be asked to perform together with him. And we did some musical theatre. Obviously, he's written The Lion King and Aida and some other musical theatre pieces. So it was really, really an amazing experience. And it was sort of one of the first ones that I had coming to the UK. So
That is amazing. Like Elton John. Wow. And what's he like in person? Was he nice to you? Was he
he was
less of a
lovely. He was
diva?
absolutely lovely. No, he was not a diva at all. So no, he was very welcoming, and obviously I was quite young at the time as well, so he was very understanding and wanted to support young performers. So it was just a lovely experience overall.
Wow. Before I ask you what it was like performing alongside Elton John, can you tell me what inspired you to pursue a career in music and theater?
I played the piano from a very early age. I told my mother, I think when I was 3, that I wanted to start playing the piano because I had seen my nursery teacher playing the piano, and that's sort of how it all started. So I was very lucky. I went to a piano teacher from the age of 3, and then I went to sort of a music school from the age of 5. So that's, very, very early start with all of that. And then the singing came along. Obviously, I did some school choirs and that kind of usual introduction into singing. I was told by a lovely choir mistress that I needed to be quieter and I needed to blend more. And that was obviously one of the reasons why I then started singing more solo and wanted to pursue. I started classical singing lessons when I think I was about 15, so relatively late on. But I wrote a lot of my own music as well at this point. So I was writing my own songs and kind of exploring. One of my school projects actually was that I wrote music to some of the Lord of the Rings poems from the Lord of the Rings books. I was a fan of the books, and I wrote sort of slightly folky, classical, that kind of. So maybe one day I will release some of those songs that I wrote very early on. But then I also did musical theatre school on the side of normal school. So I did hair when I was 18, and that was quite a defining moment for me in terms of um, having the confidence to choose that as a profession and wanting to pursue performing overall as a profession. So it was very lucky for me to get to quite early on get the experience of doing it and doing musical theatre.
Wow, that seems exciting for you to be where you are. I bet you anything when you were growing up, you had no idea that you'd be where you are now at this point.
No, no, it was very, and especially coming from a, not from a English speaking country and growing up in relatively small circles, it was quite the sort of experience. So I studied classical first in Helsinki at Sibelius Academy before I moved to the UK. So I was in my early 20s when I did that. So that's how it all kind of started, and then obviously coming to
Wow.
London was its own
Did
chapter. Yeah.
That's amazing. Did you have a good relationship with your family growing up? They encouraged you to pursue music?
Yes, my mother's father was actually a pianist and actor as well,
Oh, wow.
and he unfortunately died when she was very young from illness. Um, but she didn't have very maybe good experience, and neither of my parents are in the arts, so they were encouraging. But I also remember one phrase she saying to me: "The last thing I want you to do is become a performer." So then obviously I had to do it. No, they were really encouraging in general, and I feel like they just wanted um, to make sure that I would be all right, and obviously, like every parent, they
Mhm.
want you to sort of do okay. So they were just worried that that would, mean that I wouldn't financially be okay, or that I wouldn't, but they encouraged me as well, especially with the piano, to continue
Wow,
um,
that's
doing
amazing.
that, and yeah. So and yeah, they are today they are my biggest fans.
Um, is there a piece of music that feels especially meaningful or healing to you personally?
Ah, um,
I have to warn you
uh,
about Amy. Her questions are dynamite.
yeah. No, it's such an interesting question. I would say I've always been a huge fan of film music. So I love the likes of John Williams and James Horner and Alan Silvestri and Howard Shaw, um, to name a few. So I can't think of a specific piece that would be, but I would say that that's the kind of music that I listen to if I need to calm down, or if I need to seek solace in something, or I just want to enjoy nature and listen to some music. I also use it as my exercise music, which is some people find very strange because obviously when you're exercising, you want to normally have some slightly more upbeat music, but film music can be upbeat as well. So film music is kind of my original love,
Mhm.
and I've been listening to that for a very long time.
How does your classical training influence your crossover performances?
So I did obviously classical singing, and very much kind of bel canto classical singing, but we also did a wide variety of things, obviously, at music college. So we did composing and arranging and all of that kind of stuff, conducting, all really, really useful skills in sort of understanding how it all works. And especially now, more recently during COVID, when I got back into writing my own music, I've found that all of that background and all of that kind of general musical understanding has been a really huge help So I would say, um, yeah, I have a sort of firm classical foundation. Um, and I guess the thing that I felt more recently artistically, um, sort of pulling slightly away both from musical theatre and classical to go into classical crossover, is the freedom that you get when you're not set into doing things in a specific way or in a specific style. You kind of get to choose the style and mix the styles yourself as well. So that's kind of where my love for specifically classical crossover has kind of come from.
Could you operatize an Elton John song?
If I think it works, then yes. Like my most recent single, ABBA's "Lay All Your Love on Me," is obviously an upbeat disco number, and sort of makes sense with my Scandinavian roots. And I've always wanted to do some ABBA, and I was looking for something that I felt could be brought into the classical crossover world and made into kind of a more um, ballady, romantic kind of song. So yes, that I guess that is what I've been trying to do with classical crossover, is take new material um, and reimagining that into a classical crossover kind of arrangement and world.
Basically, any classical crossover artist could operatize any piece of music. I mean, Josh Groban does it quite a lot as well, so his voice is
Yeah.
pretty pristine.
When you're choosing a repertoire, what draws you to a particular piece or song?
So when I hear music and when I hear a song, um, I always have that sort of slight thinking cap on. Could this work as a classical sort of twist? And I feel like it's very much an emotional reaction that I get from certain songs, and
Mhm.
that the lyrics and the melody and the arrangement somehow speak to me. So like for example with Chandelier, that was my debut single for my album. um it's very difficult to choose, one song that is going to be your first single on your um so um so with Sia, I hadn't really listened to her that much. I wouldn't say I was a big fan or anything, but that song in particular, I had heard quite a few different versions of it, and it just felt right, and it felt like I wanted to go down that kind of route. So it's very much, obviously we try to do music that we like. I try to do music that somehow speak to me, so that then I can relay, my own interpretation and my own twist on that. So yeah.
Wow. So, what was it like making your West End debut in Love Never Dies?
Um, it was absolutely petrifying. Absolutely fantastic. It was. I had quite recently graduated, and I went into Love Never Dies, and when you get something relatively big like that, you kind of go, okay, you need to work quite a lot in your self-confidence, and you have to trust other people that if they think you can do that, then you can probably do that. So I had to really work on myself um, to build up, the confidence level and all of that kind of stuff. We had an amazing company. Andrew Lloyd Webber was still working on the show, so we were in rehearsals and doing 8 shows a week, both at the same time, actually, which obviously, as a recent graduate, I was very excited about. So to get to work in the same room with him, and we had a new director, and by the point I came in, new artistic team as well, as it was a new show. So it was really really one of those dream experiences that, I had fulfilled a lot of, the dreams and the sort of ideas of what I would have wanted to do when I came to the UK. And it was obviously, I feel very lucky that I got to experience that so early on. Yeah, and playing in such a, everything in the West End is done, everyone is at the top of their game. So whether it's the costume designers or the costume people or the wig people or the choreographer or the music department, it's lovely to work. um, Obviously there's the pressure there to deliver, because of where it is, but it's also lovely to be able
Mm.
to work with people who are really the best of the best of the best. And we had a lovely company. Obviously, working with Ramin Karimloo was who was the
Wow.
Phantom.
Wow.
Um, was amazing, and to get to meet him, and we had an overall lovely, amazing company, a very supportive company as well. So it was really a fantastic beginning to my career, and very fond memories from that.
My favorite Andrew Lloyd Webber is Phantom of the Opera, and I know that Love Never Dies is a sequel, and you have
Yes,
most of the same characters. My favorite song from Love Never Dies is "Till I Hear You Sing."
yes,
That is quite a song. Um,
yes.
how did that work for you?
So Till I Hear You Sing was actually, so Ramin, obviously the Phantom, sings it, and
Hmm.
it was originally in the middle of the show. So during the time we worked on it, Andrea wanted to try transferring it to the very beginning of the show. So I don't know if you know of the kind of development of the show, but the
Hmm.
Australian version, which is on DVD, is basically the version we ended up with in the West End. So that is kind of the format of the show. So there were quite major changes really made, and obviously we were involved with kind of making those changes and trying it out, and doing all of that work. So Till I Hear You Sing, and obviously during it, Christine is sort of, or in this doll-like, um, well, she's kind of a doll. It's his imagination, but obviously it's the real Christine who's doing it, sort of walking around almost like in a dream, or a little bit of a robot or something like that during the song, because he's kind of
Hmm.
imagining Christine and seeing her again, which obviously then happens in the show. So it's a really powerful song, and obviously singing "Love Never Dies," the title song for Christine. The situation there is that she has both Raoul and Phantom on each side of the stage, and they had a bet, whether she would sing or not, and that would define who of them would get her in the end. And she doesn't know about the bet, but she feels very torn. So there's a lot of drama sort of going on during the songs, which obviously is very satisfactory for the actor, because there are some beautiful songs, and also some beautiful music in Love Never Dies, which hopefully will get more life. It's just done a tour in Asia, I believe. Love Never Dies. Um, so hopefully it will continue in some way.
Definitely, that must have been quite an adventure for you.
How do you typically prepare for a performance or a recording session? Do you have any routines or rituals?
Yeah, basically, I try to warm up both my body and my voice. So I quite like going for a little run, nothing long or extreme, just to kind of get my heart rate up and get a little bit of the breathing kind of to drop down, and then do some stretching, and then obviously do a warm up with my voice. So doing exercises, breathing
Mhm.
exercises, and vocal exercises to kind of warm up. And I try to do that not just before I'm about to perform, or I try to leave it a little bit of time for my body to kind of get used to it. And drinking plenty of water is obviously a very helpful. It takes quite a long time for the water to reach your vocal folds or your muscles. So if you have something, for example, a recording session that starts quite early, then you have to start drinking water very early.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I don't. Um, yeah. If it's sometimes with a recording session, for example, you'll be I'll be sort of singing off mic first to kind of try out arrangements, and then you warm up sort of during the process a little bit as well, so you don't have to be as prepared as for a concert or a show, as it were, necessarily. And obviously, the mic picks up very small details as well. So sometimes, depending on what you're singing, it's quite nice to have a bit of morning voice, or a little bit of sort of more natural voice that isn't fully warmed up yet.
So when it's not fully warmed up yet, how do you get it warmed up quickly? Because you might have 5 minutes to go on, and your voice is like.
Yeah, that's how it feels sometimes when you're doing a show. The good thing about it is that because you're using it so much, um, you sort of feel warmed up already in the morning. So obviously, some days are going to be more difficult, just like with running. Some days it feels really easy, and other days it feels really hard. It's the same with singing. It just
Mhm.
depends on your muscularity, and how much sleep and how much water and all of that kind of stuff. Um, um, so yeah, there's a few little tricks that I have in thinking, where the breath needs to go, and to do with sort of forward placement and resonance spaces, and a few little sort of sounds that I can make that are quite quick if I don't feel like it's in a good place, just before going on.
Have you had any memorable audience reactions or feedback that stayed with you?
Um, yes. Obviously, in the theatre show, you meet people outside of stage door, so that's quite a nice way of meeting the audience. And then now, when I'm doing more concerts and that kind of stuff, you get to meet the audience. So it's quite nice to kind of get to talk to them and actually get faces, because when you're on stage, it's just a lot of darkness and there's lights blaring at you and you can't really see see much. So, but then again, if you do a more intimate space, like a cabaret space, then you might be able to see people a little bit better, and that's quite nice, because then you can play off people and connect with people while you are actually performing. Um, so it's really lovely to hear people's comments, online, and also in person when you meet them.
Mhm.
Um, I really enjoyed that aspect of it, to kind of meet your audience, basically, because I love meeting people and meeting new people. So that's kind of, yeah, one of the highlights, I would say, for me, is to get the audience reaction and get uh, get their ideas and thoughts, and yeah, yeah.
Was there like a most surreal experience in your career so far?
Most surreal. Um, I would maybe say, um, obviously, I did Phantom in Norway as well, and I did it in Norwegian, which I don't speak or didn't speak. I speak Finnish and Swedish though, which is Swedish is very
Mm.
close to Norwegian. So, so, so opening Phantom in Norwegian in the Old Opera House of Norway at Folketeatret um, felt very amazing and surreal at the same time. Obviously, there was a lot of work that went into it before, so it wasn't that I didn't feel prepared. But that was a really special production and special experience to get to do that, and we had an amazing team on that as well. But especially, yeah, working with different languages, and obviously in opera we work with different languages, but it's a little bit different in opera
Mm.
than musical theatre. There's sort of more detail in musical theatre, especially with the acting and all of that kind of stuff. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, were there any key moments or turning points that helped shape your artistic identity?
Ah, um, that's a really good question.
See? Told you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, so well, I probably mentioned hair already when I was 18.
Mhm.
That would have been sort of the first one where I was like, okay, this performing business is probably what I will want to do. And then obviously I was doing mainly live theatre up until live theatre and concert work and everything up until COVID. So
Hmm.
COVID,
Oh yeah.
I would say, was another one where you suddenly realize that, oh no, we can't do this. um, we need to think of something else. So that's when I had the time really to start writing my own music again. Um, and also realizing how important it is to have recorded material and have online material. And I hadn't really focused on that before that because I was so into the world of live performing. So that I would say was quite the big turning point. And obviously, as a kind of following on from COVID, I managed to get funding for my album. So that was, I would say, that was kind of a turning point in terms of switching from doing just live performing to doing recorded um, singles and an album and also all the online material that I did. There's two songs on my album which are original songs. Um, One's Back in Time and Dream with Me. So they are of that of out of the songs that I wrote during COVID, two that I chose to put on the album, and I'm very very proud of those songs. So that's yeah, that was quite a turning point for me. And then obviously, live things came back and all of that, but it enabled me to kind of work in new medias and in new ways that I hadn't explored before that as much.
Yeah. What was the inspiration behind your debut album, Dreaming? And I know it's covered with like covers, Chandelier by Shia. Then you have Dream with Me, You'll Never Walk Alone. Wow, what a song! Wicked Game, Point of No Return, my favorite as well.
Yeah.
So what was the inspiration behind this, and how did you know what songs to put on here?
It was a long process. So I started um, sort of second part of COVID, so 2021, I think, with the whole planning stage and finding funding and all of that that kind of stuff. It was really wanting to cover everything that I had been doing in a way, plus the artistic freedom of classical crossover. So the musical theatre songs, Point of No Return,
Mhm.
and Far Too Late, and You'll Never Walk Alone, are very much kind of reflecting, my musical theatre career and that kind of part of things, and that's obviously a very big part of me, and I wanted to include that, but in very new arrangements. So that's sort of what all of the songs have in common, that they are done in new arrangement, which I was very lucky to be doing with Nikki and Joe Davison, who are Auburn Jam Music, who I did the album with. So it was a very collaborative process in thinking of the inspiration behind Point of No Return was actually there was a Bond theme that came out. I think it was the Billie Eilish one around that time, and I said, "What if we would Bondify Point of No Return, Phantom, and make it a little bit like a Bond theme?" So that was actually the inspiration behind the arrangement of that. And then obviously having the brilliant John Owen Jones join me on Point of No Return was made the song really. He's absolutely amazing, and I was very lucky that he wanted to be part of it. Yeah, and then it was definitely I wanted to include some of my original material, because I had been kind of revisiting that during COVID. So A Dream with Me and Once Back in Time are both sort of from either spectrum of music. Really,
Mm.
one is sort of very classical, which is piano and cello. Once Back in Time, and then Dream with Me is a kind of a full sort of rock song, really, with classical
Mm.
vocal. So they represent the extremes of the album musically. um, how kind of different ideas and different the variety really of how even my writing can be. So um, yeah, it was again, and choosing Chandelier, it was or Wicked Game. It was pop songs that I somehow felt could
Mhm.
be transformed, and I had something to bring to it in terms of like artistically um, elevate the song or bring my own interpretation to it or make it, my own, and wanted to share that. So yeah, a real mixture of things. um, and it is difficult choosing. I mean, there was a lot of ideas, a lot of songs, so ending up with just 10 feels like um, very few compared to all of the ones that that you could or would want to do. But I'm very pleased, and I'm very pleased with the reception as well for the album. It's been lovely to hear your comments and get your messages and all the streams and the listens and views as well. So
Yeah, I'm really really like to express the actual power behind the song "Dream of Me." Like, what was the creative process behind that song? And yet, like, how did you start it? Like, I talked to many artists. One said, "Well, I just start with lyrics, and then I write the music around it." One said they
mhm.
write the music, then they write the lyrics around it. And another artist told me that they just think of a title and they write a song.
Ah,
So I said, okay, write a song called Sun Behind the Clouds. So they wrote a song for me called Sun Behind the Clouds. Oh, it was amazing. So, what's the creative process?
So definitely title would come last for me. I think the melody often comes first. Um, so I would sit by the piano and kind of play around with different ideas, and then record. If I find something that I think works, little pieces of melodies, and then the lyrics start coming together with the melodies. So I actually started the process by using ready-made poems and writing music to poems, because that's what I had done before to a certain extent. And then when you feel like you've done that level of things enough, then you feel more confident. So obviously, for me, having the music background, the music is kind of the stronger element, as it were. And then, yeah, and then you have all of these little snippets of melodies and lyrics, and you start piecing them together, and then you end up with a song. And then often you have to write a second verse and a third verse or a middle section or something like that. And yeah, and then the title is either obvious, or with Once Back in Time, we actually changed it. Um, I can't even remember what it was now, but it had a different title before that. So, so it's all happening, and then Nikki and Joe had some suggestions as well. Came when it comes to arrangements and stuff like that, with the actual song. Um, and my husband listens to my songs as well and says, "Oh, I think this works or that doesn't work." And so I do get some feedback as well from the people around me.
Were there any lyrical walls or any melody problems that needed to broken down in order to produce that song? Like any where you go like, oh, it doesn't work. That lyric doesn't work. Like anything like that.
Yeah, we had a couple of suggestions, specifically from Nikki and Joe, when we actually had this, were already recording it, where they say, "Oh, what if we change this word or that phrase a little bit like this?" So that does happen. Not a lot. So obviously everyone has heard the song before and they know what we're doing. But as you're sort of doing it and you are recording it, because it is original material, you have the option of going, "Oh, could we try this? Or could we try that instead?" So that's quite exciting, to get to work like that, where you feel like everything can still live and change and evolve, even on the day of recording.
So, how important is audience connection in your work, and how do you foster that, especially with digital platforms growing?
Mm. So obviously, digital platforms are very different from live performing, and getting used to sort of, just being used to having that instant connection to the audience,
Yeah.
when you are performing live, which is lovely. And there's nothing like it, I think, than to be in the present with an audience in a live situation. Online is a bit more challenging, because obviously you're working through a lens. It's film material, or um, that kind of thing. So you have to kind of, um, imagine almost imagine the audience there, um,
Hmm.
so that it doesn't become just you in front of a camera, sort of very much on your own, doing your own thing.
Hmm.
So I think, I for me, I've taken my experience with the live audiences and tried to recreate that in the digital world. And obviously, with online concerts, for example, you have often the live feed and stuff like that happening. So you do have, some level of interaction, which is very nice
Mhm.
to have. Obviously, videos and stuff like that. You can get comments and stuff like that, but it's not as simultaneous as a live stream.
I
So
remember watching one of Anastasia Lee's. I don't know if you're familiar with her. She during the pandemic, she had online concerts, and you could pay for her tickets and everything. And she did very
Mm.
well, and it was amazing. And the pandemic actually it affected a lot of opera singers, as you would know. Many of them, like Nadia Heidi, for instance, she performed
Mhm.
online. Everyone mostly performed online. This comedian named Chris
Mm.
Mann, who started performing online, everyone was doing that. And then late 2021, Nadia started getting out there to perform again because COVID
Yeah.
was, if I can even say that word. And so it was nice to perform again. Um, how did it feel for you during the pandemic when you thought that I can't do any of this stuff anymore? What did you do in the
Mm.
meantime?
Um, yeah, so I started by doing some, lockdown videos, the that everyone did. But it was the first time for me that I had done any online material. So even though everyone was doing, for me it was a big step to kind of, and also it's different. Live performance obviously is happens on the day and then it's gone. It doesn't stay there forever. Whereas with recorded media and with online media, you need to be quite happy with
Mhm.
it to put it out there because it's going to stay there for a while.
Mhm.
So that was kind of for me, a little. Um, Again, I had to change my perspective on things and let go of some of my perfectionism in
Mhm.
order to um, to be able to put things out there. So it started with lockdown videos that I just recorded at home, and then from that I got the album idea. So then I started the album planning. So obviously that came out 2022. So it took almost a year working on the album from once I got the funding and everything in place to yeah, and then obviously coming back to performing after COVID was absolutely amazing. Felt like, I remember I think I did a concert in Norfolk or something like that, and was my first one, and it was just absolutely lovely to be back with the audience in the same room. Um, um, so um, so yeah, and then from then on, I think together with the live performing that I do, it's been sort of really nice to work on the album, on the singles, on the music videos, and all of that. And I am planning to continue with releasing more music. So it's definitely stuck with me the experience of doing recorded media, and so it's not just going to be live
Mhm.
performing from
Uh,
here on as well.
yeah.
How has your cultural background or personal journey influenced the way you interpret and perform music?
That's a really interesting question again. So yeah, so I come from a kind of bilingual background. I was brought up both in Finnish and Swedish. So
Mm.
I spoke Finnish. My dad spoke Finnish to us, and my mom spoke Swedish to us. So from the very beginning, I was switching my thinking language, and then English came along very early on as well. Um, so um, so that was quite interesting and useful to be able to kind of work in many different languages. And even as a family, when we see each other, we speak one language to one person, and then we switch to another language when we speak to another person. So as a child, if I said something in Finnish, for example, and my mum would be, "What did you say?" And I said, Mother, did you not hear I wasn't talking to you?" So that's kind of the background, and growing up in Finland, in Helsinki, I would say, is it's a much smaller city than London, and the
Mm.
circles, especially the Finnish Swedish circle. So I don't know if you know this, but the Swedish Eurovision entry, Kai, have you heard of them?
Mm.
The sauna song.
Mm.
They are Finnish Swedish, actually. So
Mm.
they come from the same language minority that I do, from Finland, originally.
Mm.
Not from Helsinki, but from elsewhere. Um, so it's very, very small circles, and people
Yeah.
really know each other. So that was kind of quite the shock, then moving to the UK,
Mm.
and not having all of that kind of um, connection to all of these people, and all of the people you knew, and stuff like that. So but in terms of performing, I think getting to perform, obviously, with opera in many different languages, do a lot of things in Italian, or in French, even in Spanish. I'm not very good with the Spanish, but and then now, actually, on my album, obviously, I had both two songs, Finlandia and Lullaby, which are my kind of homage to my roots.
Mhm.
So Finlandia is kind of like, almost like the national anthem in Finland, but not the actual song. Um, so everyone knows it, and I did like a trilingual version of this. So I did it in Finnish, Swedish, and English. It's also known as a hymn, "Be Still My Soul." So it was written by Jean Sibelius, and is a very famous tune. So I wanted to do my own version of that song to kind of honor my background, and all of that. And Lullaby is another Swedish song that was written by Fredrik Blasius, who actually wrote the Finnish national anthem as well. Um, so both very kind of national romantic composers from from a certain era in Finnish history. But yeah, I'd like to explore and do more things in different languages, especially my own languages as well. So that, again, maybe write some music in other languages as well as English. But obviously, my working language has been English, generally. Um, um, so um, so yeah, I'm planning to allow my cultural roots to influence my artistry even more. I think, um, from here on. So hopefully, I'll get an opportunity to do that as well.
I, I got to warn you though, because we were talking to Christina Johnston. Remember this, Amy? She was talking about how she was given the task to learn Hebrew, sing a Hebrew song, but she only had a week to learn it.
Yeah.
Wow, a
Yeah.
week! Wow, yeah, that is very quick. That is very quick.
Mhm.
Uh, um, uh, so I'd take the challenge. I remember when I was auditioning for Phantom in Norway, I had 2 days to learn Christine's song
Hmm.
in songs in Norwegian. And I had this little thought for myself. I was like, oh gosh, I was obviously, on Google Translate and trying to, you know, trying to listen to all the pronunciations and I had this little thought in my head. You either learn it if you want it, or you don't bother if you don't want it.
Mm.
There was that kind of, and obviously learning 3 Christine songs in Norwegian in 2 days is quite the challenge, and I learned them off by heart as well. So, so, but obviously I did okay with it. so, um, um, so it's really interesting working in different languages, and I feel very privileged as well to have had the opportunity to work in Scandinavia as well. And yeah, maybe that's going to be something on Finlandia. Actually, I collaborated with the Finnish Youth Choir.
Mm.
So they are singing on the Finlandia track of my album, and a lot of people in Finland speak both Finnish and Swedish, so they were able to do both languages and the English, obviously, as well. So that was very exciting.
I'm pretty sure a lot of songs out there, even Elton John songs, were sung in different languages. Billy Joel. You remember that song, the once for the ship that put to sea. The name of the ship was it Billy Joel?
Yeah.
I heard
See,
that in Ukrainian.
oh,
It blew me
really?
away. It blew me away. Yeah. She's a Ukrainian artist, and she sang that song Ukrainian. I was just like, whoa! So it puts like a new spin on the
Um,
song. I just
yeah,
can't believe it.
yeah,
And I'm thinking, imagine singing a Madonna song or Britney Spears song, like
yeah,
German or something. Um,
yeah.
mm, it's actually it's pretty interesting.
Ooh, if you could collaborate with any artist living or from history, who would it be and why?
Ooh, I would probably have to say John Williams.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Sing a song written by, you know, one of the legendary, and he, is still
Wow.
going strong. To sing a song by him would be a dream, absolute dream come true. So yeah, putting the feelers out there for John.
Hmm.
um, but obviously, I've had that type of experience, obviously getting to sing new material by Andrew Lloyd Webber, and so I've been very lucky to already work with very talented composers, contemporary composers. Yeah, I think, and there's a load of singers that I can think of that I would love to sing with. um, Andrea Bocelli, for example,
Mm.
or you
Yes.
know, Josh Groban. Why not? That kind of thing. But yeah, but it would be really special to get to collaborate with composers, especially who are contemporary composers. Yeah.
I had Coloratura soprano on my podcast named Adriana Zarzu, and she said that she collaborated on a song on the stage with Andrea Bocelli.
Oh,
I was like,
really?
"What? Tell me more." I spent more time on that question. It's like, "What's it like, Andrea Bocelli? Wow, it's amazing."
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. So it's for me the equivalent in musical theatre world is obviously working with Ramin and John Owen Jones as well. So they are both amazing musical theatre. Not just musical theatre singers; they've done other stuff as well, but are mainly known through the shows, obviously. So that's already been amazing to get to collaborate with them. But obviously, you need to always renew yourself and think what you'd like to do next, or what you'd like to do. After getting to do so many lovely jobs like Love Never Dies and Phantom and all the Gilbert and Sullivan things that I've been doing, and other things, and the album and collaborating. You need to almost renew yourself all the time, and think of what the next aim might be, so that you don't just feel grateful and and sit back.
Would you work alongside Reginald Dwight, aka Elton John, again?
Absolutely. Yeah, he just did something I saw on television with a woman. I can't remember her name now. But yeah, absolutely. That would be absolutely fantastic. I don't know how much maybe he's not as active as he was sort of 15 years ago. But yeah, that would be absolutely fantastic, and still writing, I believe, music, and being creative, which is a great thing.
I'd love to share the stage with Mary J. Blige. I would love to sing alongside her. I love to sing alongside Sting. I love to sing alongside, well, not Celine Dion, but maybe Shire or something. But I just find that would be like,
Mm.
wow, what song do we sing, Saya? How about Snowman? Is it Christmas yet? No. I love Snowman. Um,
Oh yes. Let's see. So what will be next for you in this year, and beyond? Anything we should keep an eye out for?
Yeah, so like I mentioned before, I'd love to delve deeper into writing my own music. So that's definitely
Hmm.
something that I'm planning in the pipeline to do, and hopefully get to produce that music as well in some shape or form. So definitely more releases, I would say, are in the pipeline, because and I've really enjoyed working with Auburn Jam, and found sort of a partnership there that works. So if they are up for it, then yeah, definitely that kind of stuff. And then obviously more concerts. So I just recently, last year, created my own solo show. Hoping for more bookings and more concert work coming my way. So both recorded media and concert work in the planning. Yeah.
Mm.
well, we're so happy that you were able to grace us on the platform here. Everyone will, all their information will be linked down in the show notes. Final question. Amy has it.
Oh yes. What advice would you give emerging vocalists who are trying to find their own artistic voice?
Hmm. Um, Trust yourself.
Mhm.
Um, um, don't be too perfectionistic. Create, and get things out there. And I think a lot of if I would redo any of my career, I would not hold back, and sort of not withhold things that I had created because I thought they weren't good enough. So I would definitely say to work on, believe in yourself, believe in your own creativity, believe in your own voice, and find the form of expression that really inspires you, because that will then help you to carry on and make a career that you can be really happy with.
Well, it was really wonderful to meet you. Really glad that you were able to share the stage with us, interview. Amy, thank you for being my co host. We're going
Thank
to
you
end
for
the stream,
having
but
me.
thank you so much for
Thank you
your
so much, both of you. This was lovely to meet you and chat to you.
lovely to meet you.
Lovely
So
to
wait
meet you
right there.
too.
Okay, everyone, we're going to end the stream. Don't go anywhere. Bye, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.
Night's getting longer, darkness is creeping.